Welcome to another edition of Coffee, Eggs and Inspiration. It's been 3 years since I got my Super73 S2 bike. I love it. It's done 2,500 miles now in London here in the UK. So great time to give it a 3-year review, 2,500 mile review, the pros, the cons and whether you should get one. Let's go. Well, 3 years, 2,500 miles, I've got a pretty good feel for this machine. I've been using it as a commuter bike. I live in London in the UK, and you're joining me on an early spring day in a park just across the road from where we live. I ride it about 6 miles, which is 10 kilometres each way into work on the days that I use the office, and it's my commuter bike. So I've got a pretty good feel for how the thing performs, the pros and the cons. So let's start with the pros. First of all, the range and generally the performance. Although it will tell me I can do something like 34 miles, 35 miles at the moment, I find, because I ride it on a very high power setting, the highest power setting always, I get about 20 miles. But I'm going flat out. I've got the full power setting on. I ride it in mode 3 or mode 4. As I say, I find I get about 20 miles in the sort of real world. It's telling me, if I'm checking now, it's telling me I can get 31, but it'll be closer to 20 the way I ride it at least. So the range is good. In terms of the speed, the legal limit for pedelec assisted bikes, that's an electric bike that's still classified as a bicycle as opposed to a moped, here in the UK is 16 miles per hour, which is about 25 kilometres an hour. You can put it in an off-road mode, and that setting will take it all the way up to 30 miles an hour, or about 50 kilometres an hour. And that's pretty quick, certainly plenty. I've actually fitted a throttle to it, which I can legally use off-road when I'm on that setting. But generally I pedal actually. So the first thing that's great is the performance. Second thing is the stability. As you can probably see, it's got huge bulbous tyres, really big fats. They look like they're about 6 inches wide, and what that gives you is a lot of stability. You know, the roads around London are a bit potholy, a little bit bumpy. They've been sort of dug up and repaired over the years. And it just helps to have some big fat tyres. A, it softens the ride, and B, it gives you a little bit more stability. If you're on a normal bike, a sort of commuter bike with thinner wheels, then that can topple you off if you sort of get stuck in a rail or a rut. So stability is the second thing. Third thing is you can carry a pillion passenger. If I sort of scrunch right up here, I do take passengers on it. My wife comes on it from time to time. It can be a bit uncomfortable because this model, the S2, has front suspension but not rear suspension, so it is a bit jittery, although that's less so if you're on a smoother road. But you know, the ability to take a pillion passenger is amazing. We quite often, at least in the summer, take it out, go to a bar or a restaurant or something like that, so that's really good fun. Fourth, the ability to customise as well as the look and feel. I love the look of this. This is in Hudson blue. I love the colour. It goes really well, I think, with the sort of tan coloured seat, and I've got pannier bags to match. So and it's sort of got that sort of low rider cruiser kind of look. So I really love the look on it, the look of it. It's just cool, and as you can see, super customizable as well. If you want to check out the customizations I've made, check out this video that's up here in the corner right now. But that means you get the sort of basic frame which does what it says on the tin, but then you can add whatever you want to it, and it can be quite versatile in that respect, because you know, I've actually got a lot of storage on it, so those are the sorts of things that you can customize. Finally, versatility. So it's a great commuter bike, easy to get around in a city like London. The average speed of the traffic here is 8 miles an hour. So something like this is absolutely perfect, and it's very comparable to a Vespa, a small motor scooter. You're not going to get to places any quicker on a motorised vehicle than you will on this, certainly in a city like London. So it's super versatile, and because of the stuff that I've added, the basket here, the bag hanging off the crossbar, the pannier bags, I can carry a bunch of stuff with it, and sometimes quite heavy. So, and I can always wear a backpack on top of that. So lots of versatility there. Okay, so let's go to a few of the negatives, or the watch out points. I guess the first is price. This retails for about £3,500 in the UK. So it's getting up there in terms of price. You can buy them in Europe. You can buy them in the UK. The distribution hub, I believe, is in the Netherlands, but there's plenty of stockists that will sell these around London. But £3,500, that's about what you'd pay for a fairly decent motor scooter. So it really is in that sort of zone. You can spend as much as you really like these days on electric bikes, so I suppose there's a big range attached, but it's certainly towards the top end of what's available on the market. Second, I mentioned this before, the rear comfort on this is can be a little bit dicey. It's got front suspension, it doesn't have back suspension, so if you're going over a really rough surface like this path that I'm on at the moment, it can get a bit jarring. Now the mitigation for that is the bulbous fat tyres, which you can sort of inflate to the pressure of your liking, and also the soft seat. So that does soften the blow to some extent, but the absence of rear suspension does make a difference. I actually like the look of this better than the other model. They do sell an RX model which has front and rear suspension. Sort of looks more like a motocross bike. I wanted the sort of cruiser city look, so I went for this one. You do pay the price a little bit on the smoothness and comfort of the ride. And then finally, on the con side is the weight. This is a heavy bike, and I've added to it. I've got a big thick lock down here, so it's not the sort of thing that you want to be dragging up and down a stairwell if you're in an apartment or something like that without a lift. And it's not the sort of thing that you can fold up and put in the back of a cab if you don't feel like riding, which is the case for say a Brompton bike. They come in electric these days, or a Go Cycle. So if you want that sort of hyper mobility and hyper practicality, the ability to fold up and carry it, maybe put it on a train, take it upstairs, this is probably not the model for you. We're lucky enough to have a house. We have a ground floor entrance to that, and I actually keep it inside just for security. So think about the security of the bike and its portability. Overall, 2,500 miles, 3 years. Would I buy one again? Yes, I would. This has been a great commuter bike. I'd buy one certainly in London ahead of a Vespa or another motorised bike. It just gives you a few more options, a little bit more versatility, because you can go in bike lanes and sort of park up on curbs and things like that. It's pricey, but I think you get value for money. Well, I hope you found that useful, and good luck with your investigation of whether you should get one, and if you're about to purchase one, have a lot of fun with it. Thanks for joining me.